Hello and welcome to the Kuribros, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime recap podcast. I'm your host. I fell in the ocean and was picked up by this strange cult. I'm Phoenix. Joining me, the king of DDR, my co-host, it's Andy. How you doing, Andy?
What's up? My name's Andy Two Steps, and I can beat your ass at DDR, motherfucker.
And if you can't, he'll just beat your ass.
That's right. I'll just kick ya like I kicked a defenseless girl. I did not kick a defenseless girl. Now it's gonna be cut. Shit.
No, you could. No, leave it in. Leave it in. Let them know what you didn't do.
No, it's gonna be like cut out of context. One day, someone will fucking be like, Andy kicks little girls.
Like the I Think Coolsville Sucks from the Scooby-Doo movie.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh man, we're bringing weird vibes. We're getting back into talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! And we're bringing it weird. And this is gonna be a long episode.
It is gonna be a long episode, but you know what? It deserves to be, because you know what? This is the start of season 2, baby. We did it. We got renewed thanks to, us, because we're the ones who make the decisions here. But we're back for season 2.
Yeah, we got renewed by being too stubborn to stop.
Yeah, we just, we got nothing better to do and the times we do these things. So we're going to keep punishing you with anime recaps of early 2000s card game animes, and you're going to listen to them. Hopefully. I beg you, keep listening.
And what are we gonna be anime early 2000s recapping in this installment?
Well, today we're going to be starting at the beginning of Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 2, or at least how it's kind of divided in the episodes list, where we are going to first cover Yugi fighting a mysterious cloaked figure, who we will find out it's Bandikeith. It's Bandikeith being mind controlled.
Bandikeith. I think we actually said it in like one of the earlier episodes. It's Bandikeith.
We said it in a few. That's why I was like, wait, hang on. Like,
yeah,
I don't care.
Like, we won't say Yami's actual name, but we don't care. It's Bandikeith. We never see him again after this.
No, you really won't. Yeah, it's a little different with Yami because that's like a big plot point, but whatever. And then we go into the introduction of a woman named Ishizu and get a lot of Millennium item lore and kind of the early beginnings of the Battle City arc with Kaiba. Then we step on into Johnny Steps, interesting half filler, half canon episode where Yugi duels a guy who's obsessed with DDR. And then finally, we will watch Kaiba face his own deck against a computer, a la AI, and Yugi or Yami at least, will learn some lore about himself, and then the Battle City is announced.
Goddamn AIs taking all the artist jobs, now they're taking all the duelists.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? And also, just another thing, I'm going to be covering the first 2 episodes. I'm also going to be adding in a manga section for these 2 episodes because it's very different how they depict these events in the manga. I kind of touched upon that at the end of last season with the Dungeons and Dice monsters and everything, but I'll kind of finish that one up just so people can get the context of that. I think it's, people deserve to know the truth about what Takahashi was trying to say in the manga. And also, I think it's a little interesting. I kind of wish this was how they set it up, but I can understand how they divided it up and what they want to do. It's still kind of the same, but it's also extremely different. But the narrative beats are a little bit mostly the same. All
right, well, without further primming and posing and postulating, I think we should get into this whopper of an intro.
Yeah, we can't really. We gotta get through this. So I am beginning the season, lucky me, and I am talking about episode 50, which is in a way kind of fillerish in the sense of what the premise is, but it adapts the previous material kind of set up in the last season with the Dungeon Dice Monster stuff and some stuff going on forward. And it begins as such. We see this episode start out like any other, with Solomon Moto sweeping outside his shop and being greeted by Taya, who is coming to walk with Yugi to the big game, is what she says. I think it seems like it would just be kind of school. That's actually something I wanted to ask you. Is it school or is there a soccer game going on?
They're just going to school.
They have this whole, and I'm going to talk about it, but they have this whole plot about them going to a soccer game. I don't know, but that's what it is. They're going to a soccer game at the school. We cut to Yugi, who is sporting his new chain necklace for his Millennium Puzzle. He kind of did this already in the manga, but now they're doing it in the anime. Yugi and Yami are able to have conversations with each other freely after everything that happened in the Duelist Kingdom finals. Yugi explains how everyone seems to want their hands on the puzzles, so he got that chain necklace. And Yami even agrees and goes on to say that fate has something in store for them, and he wishes he knew what it was. Yugi then reminds Yami that they are in this together and he will help however he can. There's actually a little funny little gag in the manga when he does this, where Yugi puts the chain on and where Yami's like a big fan of it and says, it's kind of just a little too subtle. It doesn't go like far enough. He even suggests like Yugi wears silver chains on his arm and stuff, which Yugi kind of responds embarrassingly like that's not his style at all. Yami even hits the Taya button going, "Come on, show Taya how cool you are." And Yugi's just like embarrassed, he likes Taya.
I actually really liked how much Yami is like rooting for Yugi to get with Taya in these episodes. Is like, yeah, man, go for it. I believe in you. You're 4 foot nothing, but you can do anything because you have big dreams.
Dude, he's the ultimate wingman. I can see why Yugi doesn't want to give him up. He's kind of gives him a confidence booster with like pretty girls.
Yeah.
He's like, you got it, man.
I do also want to point out, you and I had talked about this before, but there's a weird cut that you said happens in the dub, where in the sub, when Yugi is leaving his room, he bumps into some like redheaded woman on the way out, which doesn't happen in the dub, and I think that's supposed to be his mom.
Yeah. So I think I've asked about this in previous episodes in the last season, but Yugi's mom does appear in the manga a few times, but she never has an important role, and I can kind of see why the dub decided to exclude her, because she doesn't really play anything into it, and I'm sure it kind of like just eats time a little bit, but it's whatever. I'm sure there wasn't really anything that was a detriment to having her in there. So it's cool that she's finally in the anime.
Yeah, but they don't say like her name, they don't say mom. It's just woman who is also in his house. For all I know, it's like grandpa's caretaker.
I mean, maybe that was what they were trying to insinuate there, but it's his mom. He does say mom in the manga and
in the manga.
The manga. It's fine. It's whatever. He had to come from somewhere, He had to have a mom somehow, unless he was something created in a lab, and even that's a little dicey. But it is Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, we're going to do weird stuff with labs in the future. But right now, we're going to keep it nice and down to earth.
Yeah, we're going to go back to the anime. Yugi meets with an impatient Taya outside the shop who asks what took him so long to come out. Yugi then lore dumps on Taya about how he was talking to the Millennium Spirit and how he was saying about the destiny being unclear and there's more the spirit has to do and stuff. But then Yugi kind of cuts that off real quick. He's like, I'm just rambling. We're late. Let's go to the soccer game. And as they're going to the big soccer game, Yuki seems to be kind of like in a whole nother world. He's like spacing out while Taya's trying to talk to him about stuff. When suddenly, a man in a cloak in an alley wants to tell Yugi his fortune. Doesn't seem suspicious at all, if you ask me. Yugi approaches the man. The man explains in order to tell Yugi's fortune, he would need to hold a personal item like the necklace with the puzzle on it. The man is easily able to convince Yugi to hand it over, which seems to be kind of a weird problem in this series, kind of going back to season 0, where he gave the museum curator his puzzle.
It does also defeat the purpose of, yeah, I got this nice chain, so the puzzle's secure. Let me just take it off and hand it to a guy.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. Like, at least, like, in the manga, it gets just taken off of, or, like, taken off in some way where it's, a little bit more like it's out of Yugi's hands. But this one, he just gave it to him. So, bad Yugi. As the man holds the puzzle and starts telling a bogus fortune, he kicks the table at Yugi and Taya and books it. Who would have guessed that, huh, Yug? Yugi goes off chasing the cloaked figure and finds the alleyway has arrows on the wall pointing him to the direction the cloaked figure wants him to go in. As Taya's trying to go around to cut the thief off, she runs into Bakura, who asks why she's running. Taya explains the situation and where Yugi is, and Bakura says he will go help.
You just said Taya was running to cut the thief off. Not what happens in the sub.
What's she doing?
Yugi runs after him and tells Taya, yeah, just go on to school. I'll catch up after I get it back. And then Taya says, no, I'll go to school and I'll get Joey and Tristan and then we'll all come back.
Maybe she said, I'm going to go get help, but I swear I thought I heard her say she was going to try and cut him off around, but like maybe because she does end up going to school, so maybe I missed that. That could be my fault. I thought he was going to cut him off.
I'm
But then
fully
she
willing
does
to
end up at
believe
school.
that the differences in sub and dub are just getting weirder.
I don't know. These ones get a little more weird than normal. It's kind of made me a little when I was watching them, and kind of getting me impatient for the Battle City arc in full. But we're getting there. Either way, she runs into Bakura, who asks her why she's running. Tei explains the situation and where Yugi is, and Bakura says he will go get help. We then see that evil Bakura takes over and has like a monologue, or he's the one who will take the puzzle and yada yada, kind of, like a jealous girlfriend a little bit.
Overly obsessed Bakura.
Yeah, that's right. He goes off searching with his ring. He does like a whole I'm gonna get my ring, and he like cool poses and shit.
Yeah, like rips open like his school blazer.
Yeah, it's like really funny. He finds the alley with the arrows and moves some around to confuse Yugi's friends who might find the path. And boy howdy, does he fuck with those.
It's very weird and fucked up. He's just walking down the path, sees an arrow, doesn't say anything, rips it off the wall and just throws it back on a different direction.
It's like you sadist.
Like, you petty house cat, just knocking glasses off the table.
We cut back to Yugi, who is at the end of the path, which leads to an abandoned warehouse. Yugi enters and calls out to the thief, who reveals a duel arena where one of the duel terminals has the puzzle stuck on it. The man challenges Yugi to a duel for the puzzle, and that he's been waiting for Yugi for a long time. The man explains he knows the ancient rules of the items explain that in order to take an item from its holder, they have to beat them in a duel. It is then revealed that the man isn't the man we see in the warehouse. There is another man somewhere with a more main antagonist looking silhouette mind controlling this puzzle thief. We see him on a throne with the eye symbol like on the back of the chair that you see on most Millennium items, wearing the cloak that the thief has, and is most notably holding a Millennium item. He knows about the ancient history of the items and that there is a history of the puzzle that neither Yami or Yugi can even fathom. Yugi is reluctant at first, like he's like, I don't want to duel you. He's like, but you're gonna have to duel me to get the puzzle back. He's like, fair. So I'll do it. Yami appears to Yugi saying their connection is weak right now and he cannot help him in this duel. Yugi is on his own, which is I think one of the only times he's ever done that not willingly.
Another difference here, the antagonist who put the puzzle up and challenges him, he says something along the lines of him knowing that there's a other Yugi who actually beat Pegasus, not this little kid. And so he's like, oh, he has to use the puzzle to bring him out. But Yami warns Yugi that, no, I can't come out, because like he feels there's something more nefarious, so he has to like stay hidden throughout this duel.
Oh no, yeah, that's definitely a different from the anime and the manga a little bit, but actually that's kind of something that's a little more in line with the manga with the dub, is like their connection's kind of weak, so they can't utilize the full ability of the Millennium Puzzle. So that's interesting. Yugi is on his own, and Yugi is nervous as he has never dueled without Yami, but has to trust in the heart of the cards as Yami's connection withers away. Yugi jumps into the duel arena and the duel begins. Yugi opens the duel with the classic Celtic Guardian open and passes. The man plays a face-down defense monster and passes himself. Yugi then attacks with Celtic Guardian, which triggers the Cyber Jar monster card effect, which destroys Celtic Guardian and makes them both draw 5 new cards, is what it explains. But weirdly enough, I know Cyber Jar comes back in a couple episodes, and the effect is different there. So, what's the effect of Cyber Jar again? I forget. It's destroying the monsters.
I believe Cyber Jar is when it is flipped face up, it destroys all monsters on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Flip, destroy all monsters on the field, then both players reveal the top 5 cards of their deck, then special summon all level 4 or lower monsters in either face-up attack or face-down defense position, and add any remaining cards to their hands.
Yeah, so it's different in this part of the anime, and it's kind of different in the other part of the anime, but
I'm pretty sure in the next one it resolves normally. It's weird though to see Cyber Jar so quickly back to back.
I know. Yugi plays a face-down defense monster, and the man responds with 2 machine monsters and attack. Maybe that's why, because I was about to say Bandit Keith was cheating here, but maybe this was the effect of the Cyber Jar. I don't know. He doesn't say it like that. Either way, Yugi does some boy math and concludes that there's only one person who can have a machine-based deck, which is what the monsters were that he summoned. I didn't mention that, but yeah, it's the machine monsters. And that is none other than Bandit Keith. Now, normally, this would be terrible odds, but this works in Yugi's favor as it is, in fact, Bandit Keith. We already said that. Well, it's kind of Bandit Keith. We get a small flashback of when we last saw Keith before Yugi asks what happened to him after Duelist Kingdom. We learn that someone is controlling Bandit Keith's mind and find out after he was ejected from Duelist Kingdom via the ocean, like most things were in that arc, Mr. Mind Control and his goons were on a boat passing by and took him in as a mind slave. Now that he has found Yugi, this person will stop at nothing to get a hold of the puzzle.
I don't think you've mentioned it yet, but throughout this, seeing Keith's face, he has sort of like a dead-eyed stare.
Mm-hmm.
But at this moment, he does briefly break free of the mind control in the sub and just says, "Goddamn Yugi," before being taken control over again. So that's how you know it's Bandit Keith. He cursed.
He swore. That's him. He's back.
There's only one person who would swear at Yugi.
It's Bandit Keith. So, yes, he does have the whole, like, dead-eyed stare and will come back here and there, like how it was in the sub. He doesn't swear, obviously, but he does, try to fight the control. But he's doing a pretty bad job at it.
I do think it's also kind of weird that they say in the sub that Bandit Keith hates Yugi for making him get kicked out of the Duelist Kingdom. He lost to Joey, and it was Pegasus who threw him into the ocean. I don't think he knows Yugi's name.
Well, he knows Yugi's name. He just doesn't have the same grudge as he would, the same motive as he would Joey or Pegasus.
Right, so it's weird that they make a big deal about oh, he hates you, Yugi. I'm like, no, he doesn't.
Yeah.
We met once in a hallway.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know.
We stayed at the same hotel one night.
Which was a nice castle. They should not be complaining. Back to the duel. Bandit Keith then normal summons another monster, which I don't know. It might be his third normal summoning, or the other two monsters were with the effect of Cyberjar. So he might still be cheating even if he's being mind controlled. We don't know this. Either way, the monster he summoned was Machine King, which gains 100 attack for every machine monster on the field and destroys Yugi's defense monster. Yugi plays another defense monster, which Keith then, when it's his turn, he plays another machine monster to boost his Machine King's attack and destroys Yugi's monster. Things are kind of looking rough for a little guy who's without his two biggest support systems, Yami and friends. Yami's his friend too, but it's a different kind of friendship. We cut to one of those support systems at school where Taya is filling Joey and Tristan in on the issue at hand. And they obviously want to help, so they all start running to find their pointy-haired little friend when suddenly they are stopped. The coach for the big soccer game reminds Joey and Tristan that they volunteered to help with the big game, which I assume is a teacher just being the coach saying, you can't skip school. That's not right. And I think it's even more strict in Japanese culture to do stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just a teacher. It's like, you can't leave, school is in session.
Like, you can't do that. Tristan and Joey make up a lie about how it's an emergency and Taya's cat needs to go to the vet. Is that what the excuse is for?
No, they say Yugi is really sick and they have to bring school stuff to him. Why did they change this?
No, I don't know. So the coach crumbles at the thought of Taya losing her cat and lets them go.
Was covering Yu-Gi-Oh! A mistake? Have we wasted our time?
I mean, that's for the listeners to decide. The funnier part is we then learn as they're running away that the coach's name in the 4Kids dub is Coach Morty. And I am above saying it like Rick in the Rick and Morty voice because I am not that cringe. But boy howdy did I think about it. So yeah, the coach crumbled and was crying because of Taya's cat, not Yugi being sick, which I guess is a little weird. Why is he crying about a student being sick? But whatever. We cut back to the duel and it's Yugi's turn. Yugi plays Curse of Dragon attack mode, and then he also plays Gaia the Fierce Knight, so he also double normal summons only to fuse them. You could have just played Curse of Dragon and then Polymerization and then you would have done the thing right.
I complain about the way they play the game a lot, and it always bothers me when they're like, ah, yes, I'll summon this monster and then use polymerization. You didn't have to.
You didn't have to do that. It's just a waste of time. I'm glad they kind of cut that out in GX.
Yeah, makes sense because that's the fusion show.
Yeah, that's the one where they're really highlighting the fusion stuff, which becomes a theme with the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise. Hey, we got a new way of doing things. Here's a new show for it.
Yeah.
Hoo boy, we are getting into fucking filler dueling with this one. Either way, Gaia, the Dragon Champion, is summoned and destroys one of the machines, which lowers Machine King's attack. Keith responds by playing a magic card, I forget the name of it, that raises the machine monster's attack on the field, so Machine King is stronger than Gaia, which gets destroyed. Yugi responds with Makyu, the Magical Mist, which rusts the machine monsters, and then follows up by summoning Summon Skull, who gets a boost from Makyu, the Magical Mist, and Yugi then destroys Machine King. Mind Freak is who I'm going to call this antagonist until we get his name. Monologues about being awesome or something, and then we cut to the rest of the group trying to find Yugi. They're in the alleyway that has all the arrows, but all the arrows are scattered in a bunch of different nonsensical directions. Thanks, Bakura. We get back to the duel while the gang is trying to figure out that mess. Keith plays the Graceful Charity Magic card, which I'm pretty sure it's the first time it's been played in the series. Draw 3 cards, discard 2 from the hand, but I don't know if he actually did the discarding. As he draws, apparently the Mind Freak upgraded his cheating armbands because now they have like little triggers to just put the cards in his hand. He doesn't have to go like, Huwata. They just kind of come. Also, the cloak just, does its thing.
They're also on like the other side of like a basketball court-sized dueling field. Like, you can't see what the other guy's doing.
No.
For all you know, he's got a little guy over there just handing him the cards anyway.
I know. That's kind of a big flaw with those big things. So either way, they have a little triggers to draw for him. Keith plays the Zero ritual card, beginning a ritual summon for a monster. Yugi admits he's never heard of that card, but warns Keith that it takes more than big talk to a ritual summon, and that you need to have the right monster in your hand.
What are the odds of that, right?
So Keith reveals the monster he needs.
Oh no, the odds!
The 2 remaining monsters are sacrificed to summon Zera the Mant.
In the sub, Yugi does say that Zera the Mant is one of the legendary monsters his grandfather told him about. I'm getting kind of annoyed at how everything is a legendary monster when they're barely ever close to Blue Eyes' power, which we've seen 3 of those.
Yeah, I know. It's like a 2800 ritual monster. Not really much else with it. It doesn't really do anything else. It's just a big monster that's ritual summoned. Blackluster Soldier's a stronger card, and he has that. He could have used that. He could have probably even used a Magician of Black Chaos. I know they're the same ones, like the same attack, but at least his deck is Dark Magician buffed, so you have something.
Yeah, there are options. We just don't do them.
I also thought he said Zero the Man, and I was like, that's a weird looking man.
Yeah, this is Jeff the Guy. He's
Jeff the Guy.
The most powerful card in my deck. I have to tribute Joe the Accountant and Steve from the grocery store.
He was just getting eggs. This is a fact. Throw eggs.
Yeah, my ritual spell, grocery run.
There is the hamburger recipe ritual card.
They made a whole archetype about that.
About the hamburger ritual card?
Yeah, they made an archetype of recipe ritual cards to summon different dishes that are monsters.
This is oh.
I like it. It's fun.
I'm hungry.
Hamburger.
Either way, Zera obliterates Summon Skull, and Yugi's like, oh no. But he, at the end of the day, won't back down. We then see Bakura outside the warehouse, and he senses not only the puzzle, but an aura from the Shadow Realm, which, intrigues our evil little bugger. Mind Freak is feeling confident about his victory, and Yugi's feeling low on options as the episode ends. Alright, we'll move on unless you have anything else to add.
Chris Angel the Mind Freak.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. Continue.
We go into episode 51, which I will actually say loosely adapts chapters 85 and 86. Loosely is a pretty strong term. For this episode, I will go through what happens in the anime to keep with the story, but I'll also go through the manga's depiction of what it is afterwards. I'll try and make it quick, but we'll see. We pick up where we left off. Yugi's feeling alone without any of his friends, and Keith Mind Freak is trying to convince Yugi to give up. It's Keith's turn, and he summons Searu, which I remember that card when I was growing up. I think one of our mutual friends had that card. It was like one of the best cards in his deck. So that's like a weird kind of like flashback card for me. And then he plays a trap card face down. Lastly, he plays the anime favorite Stop Defense, which reveals Yugi's defense card, and that monster gets destroyed. I think it was the Komori Dragon. Yugi refuses to back down and plays a defense monster, which also gets destroyed. Keith then plays 2 more face down in the back row and places Zera in defense, which is, seeming a little confusing, but he's probably up to something, you think. Yugi then plays a face down and Dark Magician in defense mode, along with the magical hack combo that never fails him. Keith responds with Magic Jammer, which negates the magical hats. Oh no, it failed him! Keith then plays a magic card that switches the battle positions of all monsters, so Zera and Dark Magician go into attack mode. And Zera begins his attack as Yugi responds with the Mirror Force trap card. Keith was ready for it though, as he don't they call it chaining when it's like revealing trap cards and responding to those? It's chaining, right?
Yeah, when an effect is activated in response to another effect.
Mm-hmm. So that's what he does. We changed that trap with Solemn Judgment, which was, wow. Didn't think we'd see that card that early.
Yeah, it's always a surprise to think how old Solemn Judgment has been around. And how
Is it still banned?
It's not banned. It's fully playable.
Was it banned?
I don't think it was ever banned, but I know they put out various versions of it, like Solemn Warning and Solemn Strike. So I think at various times there's just been other more popular versions of it. But Solemn Judgment still sees play.
Yeah, it's a pretty good card.
Yeah, just pay half your life points to say no. Sure.
Just to say no.
Old man say no is the joke about the card.
Old man say no. I like that.
You like it till they do it to you.
Yeah, then it's not fun. So either way, Solemn Judgment stops the Mirror Force trap card and Dark Magician gets destroyed. We then cut back to Evil Bakura, who is, wanking his chain at the Dark Shadow Realm energy that he's feeling as he enters the abandoned warehouse. On the 2nd floor, might I add, which I don't know how he did that. We then cut back to the duel, where it's Yugi's turn and he plays another face-down defense monster. He's been doing that a lot lately. And a face-down in the back row. Keith then cheats again because he does the fucking armband thing and gets, wow, what are the odds? I got the card I needed. Tribute to the Doom to destroy Yugi's face-down monster, but Yugi reveals the Living Arrow magic card, which flips that shit back onto Keith, and Zero the Man is destroyed. Evil Bakura is getting jealous that Yugi's getting another new Millennium Item guy as an enemy, and severs the connection between Mind Freak and Bandit Keith, which leaves both parties confused for different reasons. Keith is trying to come to terms with where he is, but Mind Freak tries to regain control over Keith's mind. As Mind Freak gets a grasp on the control of Keith, he makes Keith rush towards the chained-up puzzle and have Keith smash it apart. Keith tries to regain control, but just as Mind Freak gets control of Keith, Bakura swings down like Tarzan from the 2nd floor and kicks Keith off the duel arena, which he's acting like, obviously it's evil Bakura, but he's acting like, sweet, innocent British Bakura, so that's, a little out of character for him.
Yeah.
So I don't know why Yugi didn't think about that.
You think he has to, keep a comb around to, tame down his evil, spiked-up hair whenever he wants to pretend?
I would think so, or he just has to button up his shirt a little more, apparently. Bakura picks up the pieces, except for one he slyly hides behind his back as evil Bakura imbues some of his personality, energy, essence into the said piece. Now he can be inside the puzzle without anyone ever knowing. We get some Millennium Item lore that's basically just the items hold a key to a great power that was split up into the items that Bakura wants to just kind of get his motive. Bakura then gives Yugi said puzzle piece and now can go through the puzzle and search its secrets. As Bakura leaves and Yugi grabs for his puzzle, Mind Freak tries to get into Keith's head again, which makes Keith freak out and swing at nothing with a what are they called? It's
just a pipe.
The pipe, yeah, that's what they're called, pipes. Just swinging it with a pipe. Keith just continues to swing at nothing until he hits a giant machine, which explodes into flames. We cut to the gang trying to find Yugi, but they get lost in the Bakura maze when suddenly they see smoke. Probably where Yugi is. Yugi is trapped in the burning warehouse and cannot remove his puzzle from the stake holding his item. The gang reaches the warehouse and the boys decide to go in to save whoever needs to be saved as Taya goes to get the fire department and other emergency services. We cut to Yugi trying to finish the puzzle in the burning building. Joey and Tristan bash their way in as they see Keith rush out of the building, kind of screaming insanely. They then find Yugi putting the puzzle together as he passes out from being overwhelmed by the fire. He just kind of finished it up. Joey and Tristan try to get Yugi out, but he refuses to loosen his grip on the puzzle, so they try and help him get the puzzle free. Tristan also gets Yugi's deck, I will add that. They are able to finally free the puzzle after several failed attempts, and they all survive with just, minor injuries. We then cut to the gang in the hospital being treated from the fire. As the boys are acting all doofy and whatnot, a forlorn Taya is spacing out, but assures the guys she's fine as she leaves the hospital room. She worries about Yugi's safety and how there is a new powerful enemy after Yugi's puzzle and knows we will see them again after the episode ends. Just want to quickly say something that I didn't think I'd say by season 2. Tristan was useful in this episode. I think Tristan was essential to the help, and I will give him his... See, I am nothing if not fair. He had a part.
I'm not. I don't think he was essential.
I think that extra muscle was helpful, at least in the anime. He is not as helpful. He's a little helpful in the manga, at least to get into the burning room. But I just want to at least say a nice thing to start off season 2 about Tristan, because I spent all of season 1 bashing him. And I probably will still continue to do so throughout the series. So when he does something I find at least a little useful, there you go, Tristan. You did it. There's your gold star. Okay, actually, take that back. Silver star. Wasn't that great?
I guess we'll just have to agree to say you're wrong.
Could have been worse.
It will be.
You could have done nothing.
Don't worry. It'll be worse. Soon.
Soon. Either way. So now that's kind of the end of the anime episodes. Now I will go into what happens with the rest of the manga, because I did kind of talk about it in the last episode, and now I kind of want to finish that up. These 2 episodes seem to loosely adapt the events of what happens to Yugi in the Dungeon Dice Monsters mini arc. Kind of quick recap on that. Duke Devlin, who he met at the end of last season, was basically raised to be the revenge child for his father. His father was consumed by vengeance after losing a dark magic game to Solomon Moto many years ago. Duke and Duke's dad hatch a scheme to kidnap Yugi and force him to play Dungeon Dice Monsters for his Millennium Puzzle. During the match, Duke's dad reveals himself and, after a verbal altercation, smashes Yugi puzzle, kind of like how Keith does it, or Mind Freak Keith. Yugi beats Devlin at his own game, and that's kind of where we have left off. Also, Evil Bakura shows up at some point, kind of like how he did in these episodes. This is chapters 85 and 86. We find ourselves where we left off in the last chapter with Yugi claiming victory in the Dungeon Dice Monsters match. Yugi demands he gets his puzzle back, and Evil Bakura takes the puzzle from Duke and hands it to Yugi. This is when he does the whole imbuing his energy into the puzzle piece thing that we could see in the anime, so I won't go over that again. Evil Bakura pieces out, so regular Bakura is back as Yugi and him begin to leave. Duke stops them and says to Yugi he has no regrets about the loss and apologizes to his father that he could not hate Yugi and therefore he could not get the revenge that his father desired. Kind of being a real bro. I really like Duke in the manga as opposed to a little bit more one note in the anime, from what I remember correctly. Still better than Tristan. Either way. Duke's dad seems to agree with Duke and apologizes to Yugi, even asks to put the necklace around Yugi's neck. Like, I'm sorry, here, let me just put this on you real quick. How nice of him. Turns out he was tightening the chain on Yugi's neck kind of like a bow tie and getting it real tight, and basically just holds Yugi hostage. Duke's dad then goes crazy, disowns Duke as his son, and basically drags Yugi to his secret room. Oh no. Duke's dad kind of roughs him up a little bit and throws him to the side as he sets up the same dark magic game that he and Solomon Moto played all those years ago that made him age 50 years in a single night because he lost. That's the whole game. Like, if you bet on like years of your life, and whoever loses those years. So he aged 50 years in a night, which is why he wears a clown mask in the manga. Oh yeah, he does that if you all forgot about that. The room is filled with your normal dark ritual room stuff, a creepy board game decorated with creepy hands and snakes. The board game is surrounded by a lot of lit candles, and I mean a lot of lit candles, if you catch my drift. Before they play the game, Duke's dad places a stake in the chain of the puzzle and begins to put the pieces together. Yugi is a little rattled up and weary from, being jerked around by the neck to stop him. He's able to utter out the words, you'll make the puzzle angry, when suddenly Duke's dad sees visions of the labyrinth within the puzzle. He gets understandably freaked out and throws the puzzles and the remaining pieces across the table, hitting the previously mentioned lit candles. A fire begins in the room and smoke starts coming through the secret door that Duke was outside of when the friendship squad show up. Yugi tries to escape, but the puzzle is stuck in the stake, just kind of like how it was stuck in the duel terminal. Yugi fears that if he does not rescue the puzzle, it will melt into molten gold. He sees Duke's dad freaking out about the fire, and he's actually on fire himself, and calms him down enough to put out the fire on his clothes and Duke's dad regrets to inform him that the door is stuck and there's no way out. Joey and Tristan are able to bash into the room. See, there's Tristan doing something. And as everyone starts leaving, Yugi decides he needs to save the puzzle, so he goes back into the room on fire. He's not on fire, but the room's on fire. Joey decides to stick with Yugi and tries to convince Yugi to leave, but Yugi doesn't want to leave Yami, and he says he wants to see him at least one last time to apologize. Yugi desperately tries to put the puzzle together as Joey keeps trying to convince Yugi that he needs to get him out. Joey then makes sure the rest of the gang gets out and then stays with Yugi to make sure Yugi gets out alive and doesn't pull anything stupid. As Yugi gets the puzzle together, he apologizes to Yami for the puzzle getting stolen and smashed, and then he will put them back together. The fire starts engulfing the entire store at this point. Duke even scolds his dad about his obsession with revenge, and Duke's dad finally admits his wrongdoings. As Yugi completes the puzzle, he passes out. The building starts coming down, and that's a signal for Joey to get them the fuck out of there. Joey tries to pick up Yugi, but he won't let go of the puzzle even though he's unconscious. Joey begs Yugi to let go and tries to pull him away. He's running out of options, and the fire is not going away. Suddenly, Yami calls out to Joey, and Joey figures out he can use the board game to break the stake holding the necklace. Yugi and the puzzle end up being freed, and as the building comes down, we see Joey holding an unconscious Yugi who has a tight grip on the puzzle, and everyone reunites with each other as the chapter ends. And that's where we kind of leave off and kind of go back into where the anime is. So it's a little different, kind of goes in with the Dungeon Dice Monster stuff. I think, in a way, works a little better, but I understand why they wanted to try and introduce the rare hunters and the ghouls.
The ghouls?
The ghouls is what apparently they're called.
The ghoul jump scare.
So, like, I don't know. So that was it. You have anything you want to kind of comment on that or anything?
Not really. Kind of said all the funny bits that I had during, and it is pretty much a not 1-to-1, but swapping out Keith for Duke's dad changeover, which I guess the reason they did it differently was because this is a split between season 1 and 2, so they don't want to have it carry on this, like, they don't want the Duke Devlin plot to wait between seasons, I guess.
No, and I get that. I think honestly they probably could have ended with how the Duke's dad stuff worked and took out the Rebecca filler, and you could arguably say the Legendary Heroes filler, but that's, who cares? Like, either way, they probably could have stayed. Probably could have had those 2 extra episodes to add that part in and end the season there. But either way, it's not really the biggest deal. It works as it is now, and I don't have too many complaints about it. I just have some complaints about how the duel is laid out. But that's really it for me. I don't really have much to comment on with this. It's kind of pretty straightforward. So we can honestly move on if you want to start working on your stuff.
Boy, I'm psyched to get into the deep backstory of duel monsters and ghouls.
Take it away, Phoenix.
So, episode 52, covering chapters 87 and 88, opens up with a new woman has arrived at the Domino City Airport. We learn that she's the director of the Egypt Archaeological Society, and that Domino City is having her bring an exhibit to them. We then cut to Yugi, who is having trauma about the burning building he was in, as he walks down the street, and Taya sees him from across the way. She calls out to him, but he has the Millennium AirPods in and can't hear her. On some TVs behind Taya, we see that the woman from before, who is now named Ishizu Ishtar, is giving a press conference about the exhibit. Ishizu says she has brought a mural from the 18th dynasty and is the first time it will be displayed overseas. We then cut to an office where Mokuba is watching the press conference while Kaiba is doing whatever he does at his adult job.
As a teenager.
Yeah, Mokubo remarks that this whole thing seems pretty cool, but Kaiba calls it lame. Maybe you're lame, Kaiba.
Yeah, fuck you, Kaiba.
Maybe not be so dismissive of your brother's interests. Dick.
Yeah, what the fuck? I thought you loved him.
Kaiba then gets a call and is told that he's being called by Ishizu and is asking him to come see her. And as he's being told that Ishizu is calling, he looks and sees she's actively giving a press conference, which is a little weird.
I mean, it could have been pre-recorded.
Could have been. Still weird.
Yes.
Kaiba then goes to the museum that night to meet with her. Ishizu greets him and explains that the Egypt Archaeological Society was founded to protect historical treasures from grave robbers. Kaiba remarks that he's more interested in cutting-edge technology and microchips than old stone chips, and we get a flashback to the phone call from before, where he was also told that Ishizu had a rare card for him. Ishizu was able to keep his attention by talking about duel monsters, his hyperfixation, and talks about that Pegasus based it off of what he saw in Egypt. We then cut back to Yugi, who is in his room, sitting on his bed, looking at the puzzle and still having trauma. Yami manifests and thanks Yugi for saving the puzzle, and also remarks that Joey and Tristan are good friends and that they're lucky to have them for their help and their part to get it back. Little Yugi is not responding. We then cut again to Taya, who is asleep on her desk, wherever that is, and is having dreams of herself and Yami walking through the Valley of the Kings, and Yami is walking up the stairs and into them, and Taya calls out to him, but he doesn't respond. Yami walks through the doorway into darkness, and doors shut behind them, and then she wakes up.
I don't think that's in the dub. I might have missed that, but I don't think that's in the dub.
No, I fully believe they wouldn't have it in the dub, because this is out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
I don't remember this at all, but I can also admit I might have not paid attention.
Yeah, it caught me off guard. Speaking of catching people off guard, Ishizu and Kaiba are still hanging out, and Ishizu shows Kaiba a stone slab depicting Duel Monster's origin. Ishizu shares a theory that the monsters and humans once lived together before the Pharaoh's magicians sealed the monsters into stone tablets. The tablets then slowly gained power over time from the monsters in them, and eventually priests would use the tablets to fight each other. Ishizu then shows Kaiba another tablet on which Kaiba sees a character with Yugi's dumb hair and the Dark Magician, so Kaiba immediately just sees Yugi, because he has face blindness but not hair blindness. Ishizu explains that this tablet shows a priest challenging the pharaoh, and then shows Kaiba this priest has the Blue Eyes White Dragon fighting on his side. Kaiba is shook, probably because he hates seeing anyone else use Blue Eyes.
Yeah, he ripped up fucking Solomon Motos because he didn't want to give it to him.
I'll tear that stone tablet in two. Only I can use the Blue Eyes.
And no fucking guy from 5,000 years in the past can have it. Only me.
Nice hair, loser.
He's wearing a hat or a headwear.
Headdress, some sort.
Whatever.
Ishizu continues info dumping about the Millennium Puzzle and 6 other items that are also depicted on the tablet, and the legend that says that when all of them are gathered, an unimaginable power will appear. Ishizu says this battle is happening again between Kaiba and Yugi, but Kaiba doesn't believe it. So Ishizu decides to hit him with a magic blast from her necklace.
Yeah, this is some anime-only shit where they info dump kind of more visually than they do in the manga.
Yeah. Kaiba is then shown a vision of this battle from the past where the priest challenged the pharaoh. But we're not going to look at that right now. We're going to go back to Trauma Town, where little Yugi is asking Yami who he is. But Yami says he doesn't know. Yami doesn't know his own name or of any memories. Back in Kaiba's Trauma Town, Kaiba is reeling on the floor, hands and knees, from seeing visions of the past, which is probably because this is the second magic bullshit he's had to deal with in about as many weeks between this and Pegasus.
Yeah, like how long is the time kind of passed? Maybe like a month or two? Maybe a few months?
It can't have been long.
No, I can't imagine.
Ishizu explains that the name of the pharaoh has been removed from the tablet, his tomb, and his temple.
They kind of gloss over that shit in the dub. They don't really talk about that. Do they show the little amulet that we'll see in Millennium World? Because they show that in the manga.
I did not see that.
Okay.
Yeah, we just see like a part of the tablet that's been broken off.
That is what it is, but it also shows that little, you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking
right?
about.
Yeah, so we'll get to that much later, but it's a little foreshadowing I noticed.
We see some more of the duel from 3,000 years ago, which I'm not going to dwell on it too much. We just see a couple of monsters we know, Winged Dragon guarding the fortress, La Jin, and some other stuff. More on that in a bit.
Whoa.
Kaiba's then fed up calling this unscientific stuff, and Ishizu once again magic blasts him to show him more of the past. I think it's very funny, just the image of Kaiba being like, "What are you doing?" She just keeps blasting him with visions. Like, do you believe it yet? Do you believe it yet?
This kind of like makes me think of in this dumb reference with Thor Ragnarok where Doctor Strange has Loki just falling for like 30 minutes, just keeps fucking with him.
Yeah, just keep showing him the past. He'll get it eventually.
I'm a man of science. Here's magic. No.
This time in the vision, we see that the priest offers up 2 tablets to summon the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Ishizu believes that the soul of the priest and the pharaoh are destined to meet again. Kaiba's sick of getting blasted and storms off, but Ishizu reels him in with the promise of the rare card. Ishizu explains that there are 3 rare god cards that Pegasus made: Obelisk the Tormentor, Slifer the Sky Dragon, and the Winged Dragon of Ra, and whoever has all 3 will rule above all other duelists as King of Kings. I'm going to interject here and say that the original names of these cards are Giant God Soldier of Obelisk, the Sky Dragon of Osiris, and the Winged Dragon of Ra. They didn't change that one. I'm going to be using the dub names, though, because of simplicity and recognizability.
Yes, like we do with everything else.
Shocking no one more than me, Kaiba's heard of these cards.
Has he?
Apparently, he's like, yeah, I've heard of the god cards. And I was like, wait, what?
No.
You have?
Yeah, that's not a thing. He was so kind of baffled by it and was like, Pegasus had cards like that and never used them, kind of thing. That's what he said. That's what he kind of says in the manga and a little bit in the dub.
Yeah, weird differences we're getting in these episodes.
Yeah, I know.
Apparently, Pegasus requested that the Egypt Archaeological Society sealed the cards away in the Valley of the Kings, but the cards were later stolen. Kaiba asks who stole them, and Ishizu says ghouls did it, which, saying that in isolation, took me aback. You mean to tell me we got zombies now?
Ah, fuck. Just get shield and sword.
Thankfully, Ishizu explains that ghouls is the word that is being used for people who hunt rare cards across the world. So that means anyone who does pack openings on YouTube is also a ghoul.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, thanks for driving up the price, you dicks. Ishizu wants Kaiba to retrieve the god cards before something bad happens. The museum exhibit is a way to spread information about these cards and to draw out the ghouls. Ishizu then gives Kaiba Obelisk the Tormentor. Kaiba then leaves to take on the ghouls, but makes the condition that Ishizu never speak about pharaohs or priests or occult nonsense to him ever again. Given his history with magic, that's a pretty fair ask.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to know that shit either. But I also did notice that Pegasus actually was contemplating destroying the god cards, but couldn't bring himself to do it. Probably because they're too powerful to do it, and he didn't want to, get some bad god juju on him.
Yeah, we get some more information later in this season about people who have tried to damage or duplicate the god cards, but for now, we'll just ignore it.
Well, we'll get there when we get there. We'll get to it.
Yeah. There's also one bit I want to talk about where when Ishizu hands Kaiba Obelisk and tells him to get all 3 of the god cards, Kaiba says, "What makes you think that I'll give all the god cards back to you once I have them?" And there's a long pause where she just looks at him and then just says, "I trust you," which, doubt.
Well, yeah, she says that. That's the same line she says in the manga, but in the dub, she says, "You will bring back those cards," or "You will bring back the card." Like, it's more direct and like, you're going to do it. Believe me, you're going to do it. So, yeah, I totally get that. I wanted to add some stuff that was omitted. So, like, there's not really too much of a difference between this and the manga, and there's actually a lot more similarities, but also some weird differences in this, that the sub that I thought. There is a neat moment at the beginning of chapter 87 where Yugi and Joey are dueling in the hospital after they're tending the wounds, and Yugi's the more beat up one, but Joey's there too. And Yugi's like trashing Joey at every duel. And Yugi recommends Joey that he should probably upgrade his deck because it's still the same deck from Duelist Kingdom. And he should upgrade it if he wants to stay a competitive duelist. And that Yugi and Yami have spent their time in the hospital building a new deck. And I also want to point out that after Kaiba gets Obelisk from Ishizu, we do cut back to Yugi and Yami having a conversation in the hospital. They talk about Yami's past, kind of like how you mentioned before, and it is Yugi's duty to awaken Yami's memories, which actually gets Yugi visibly very upset. He even goes to interesting lengths to avoid the subject, like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. It's making me upset, kind of thing. Yami has to assure Yugi that he wants to be with Yugi forever, and he doesn't care about his memories, which there's a nice, interesting, a full panel of just Yugi crying at hearing that. He's just like really like trying to hold back the tears. I think he knows he's going to have to separate from Yami someday, and he still hasn't come to terms with that yet. So he wants to just keep Yami around forever, which I think is an interesting bit that I wish was touched upon in the anime, because Yugi's character is important, as important as Yami's character, and they're both their journeys, and this is an important part of Yugi's journey, is accepting this and having to separate from the one person who made him who he is today. So I don't know, character stuff that I wanted to talk about that doesn't really get talked about.
Yeah, the last two scenes of this episode are starting back with Yugi, who is apologizing for bringing up Yami's amnesia. Yami, like you just said, mentions he doesn't care if he gets his memories back as long as he gets to make new ones with Yugi. So
they spend the entire time with Yugi, and he's sulking about being hunted by the ghouls, but they don't know that they're ghouls, but they're just like, he's just reeling from the fucking puzzle kidnapping. That's really all his stuff is, which I think is just a crappy detriment in the dub for his character.
And then we have the very last scene, which is Kaiba being driven away from the museum, and he's looking at the card Obelisk, and he just starts laughing maniacally.
I wonder why. It's because he got a literal god deity as in his hand.
He's super normal about everything.
Yeah, that's why he has a blue eyes white dragon jet.
Yeah, a normal thing to want and have and make.
All right, you want to get stepping in the next episode?
Oh, we're gonna step right to it. Episode 53, covering Chapter 90. This episode opens up with Tristan and Joey mopping up some floors, doing school cleaning detail, and talking about Serenity's operation. It's a nice moment that's ruined by Tristan asking Joey to set him up with his sister.
Fuck you, Tristan.
Yeah.
There. I'm back.
We then see Taya waiting outside the school because it's raining, and Yugi comes along and talks to her and asks her if she wouldn't mind spending some time with Yami to help cheer him up, because he's been bummed out lately, I suppose.
He's the Sag.
Yeah. We then see Yugi getting ready for the day with Taya, and Yami remarks that he's proud of Yugi for asking Taya out. So apparently Yugi lied to him about what this was about.
He's a wingman, baby.
It's a really weird curveball fake setup.
You're telling me.
We then cut to Taya, who's waiting for Yugi and thinking about the oddness that is the whole Yami situation. They meet up, and for a bit of the day, Yami's just sort of dead fishing it, not saying anything. And Taya prompts him by asking if he wants to go to the Egypt exhibit, because the ad for it shows a symbol that's the same eye that's on the Millennium Puzzle, not to be confused with the Millennium Eye.
They completely skip over this in the dub. They don't talk, like, this is what they do in the manga. That's how they get to the part of the manga. But they completely skip over that in the dub, and, like, Taya's just like, all right, let's just go fucking do shit.
Yeah.
And it's, weird. Whatever.
Weird.
Just wanted to point that out.
Yami's uncertain if he wants to go and tells Taya that he and Yugi are alike and that neither of them are very good at sharing their true feelings. Yami does want to know about his past, but he also doesn't want to in case it means he would have to separate from Yugi. And I think with Yugi, he's talking about how Yugi is not admitting his feelings for Taya and distracting it by having other things to worry about, like saying he is helping Yami get out his funk.
He's just trying to fumble the bag in the most spectacular ways.
Oh, he's fumbling. Taya shares her worries about the future too, with her wanting to pursue her career in dancing, and to help them all find out where they are going to be going forward, they decide to just spend the rest of the day just going wherever the wind takes them, and they hit the town, they go to the park, they go to movies, they stop by a card shop because Yami has a hyperfixation and I can relate to it.
Gets a cool new car that we see later.
Yeah, he gets Light Force Sword, which will come up in like 2 episodes, I think.
Yeah, literally it'll come up in the first Battle City duel.
Yeah, I do like getting to see that they are, like, seeing Yami, like, go out and actively, like, get new cards that we see later, which doesn't really come up. We tend to just see characters get new cards whenever new cards came out in the actual game.
Yeah, it's nice, and like, kind of what I was setting up, or like they were setting up in the chapters I was mentioned before, and this. It's cool that they're setting up that they are getting new cards. Hey, buy new cards, make your cards still competitive so you can buy more cards. But it's still cool that they are prepping and we're going to actually physically see these changes to the decks that we will come to fruition in Battle City.
After going to the card shop, the pair hit up an arcade and watch as Step Johnny, not kidding, beats some rando in DDR.
It's Johnny Steps in the dub.
Yeah. Taya then takes on Step Johnny until Step Johnny starts throwing hands at her while they're busting out the sick moves. Taya wins regardless, and Step Johnny is shamed.
I want to point out, this is where Johnny Steps ends in the manga, and he's not as much of a, like... So he's like a self-absorbed douche that's, like, not changed, but he's not, like, a sore loser or doesn't try and, like, do anything sneaky. He just loses, and it's just to showcase Taya being a good dancer and that, you know, she has her own passions and everything, and kind of gives her a shining moment. And then that's it. He's done. He could just defeat. It's over.
I'm going to admit to all the viewers out there, sometimes I omit things if I think that they're just creepy and weird and don't add anything to the story. But for the sake of you talking about how little Johnny Steps is in this, Johnny Steps does make a bet with Taya that if he beats her in the DDR, she has to spend the rest of the day with him instead, which is creep behavior.
Yeah, he does that in the manga too.
Yep.
That's like the most he does that's creepy, and then it's just like whatever. With like the dub, he's more just like a sore loser. This might be just a complaint in storytelling for me, and I was deciding whether or not to go off on it, but fuck it, we're here. I don't get and maybe it's just because I'm not some sort of incel freak. I don't get I'm gonna bet to get like a date with a girl, and if I win, I get like a date with a girl. Because what if they win? You just now have to waste an entire evening with a person who doesn't want to be with you, and then you have to pay for them and do whatever for them to just have a begrudgingly bad time, and you're just not getting what you want. Yeah, you're dating a pretty girl, or a pretty person, but they don't want to be there. So where's the fun in that? There's nothing great about that. I don't know. That I get that it's kind of a lame, just like make some mistakes, but just never understood that trope. And I don't understand how some people kind of can act like that in real life in some ways. Probably not exactly that cartoony, but you know what I'm trying to complain about.
Yeah, I understand. It's one of those things in media that we just have to hope keeps showing up less and less, because we are not in positions to actively make sure it doesn't show up.
Yet.
Don't worry, when we do the remake, Johnny Steps died in a horrible car accident.
No, he doesn't have to. Well, he doesn't have to die. Well, whatever. Who cares? It doesn't matter.
No, now Johnny Steps is going to be the guy who was the fortune teller. There, he stayed in the story.
There you go.
Bandit Keith was in fact lost at sea, though.
Oh, no. No, he gets the gun. He gets the finger gun.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Fine, we'll go on. We'll make it that dark. Anyway.
Yeah, so Johnny Steps loses in DDR.
Johnny Steps loses in DDR. Afterwards, Yami and Taya are viewing the sunset, and Yami shares his thoughts on not wanting to change the status quo so he can stay with Yugi forever, even though this means he'll never know about himself. Step Johnny then shows up to kill the vibes and challenges Taya to a duel. Yami hasn't dueled in a few episodes, so he interjects to duel in Taya's place. This has also saved Step Johnny the shame of losing to the undefeated duelist that is Taya. They go to Kaiba Land to use the duel field there.
Oh, they didn't even mention that. Just so, all right, I'm going to a duel arena.
Oh, they don't mention it. I'm just saying that for the audience. That's where they go. So we get to see Kaiba Land.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's the same duel field where he dueled Rebecca.
Yeah, it makes sense.
The duel begins, and Johnny plays Sonic Maid. Yami plays Celtic Guardian and attacks and destroys the Maid. Johnny plays Water Emotics, and Yami thinks that Johnny might be using a fun deck, and explains that it's a deck that isn't designed to win and just uses cards that appeal to the player's interests. This would be the only redeeming quality about Step Johnny. Yami passes his turn, and Johnny plays Spirit of the Harp and activates Chorus of Sanctuary, which boosts his monster's defense. Yami then plays Curse of Dragon and attacks Water Emotics. Johnny plays Witch of the Black Forest and uses Polymerization to fuse it with Magician of Faith in his hand, which is once again a case of summon a monster just to fuse it away. And doing this fusion, he gets to make Musician King, which then attacks and destroys Celtic Guardian. Step Johnny sets one card and passes. Yami attacks Musician King with Curse of Dragon, but Step Johnny uses his Set Metal Morph to equip it onto Musician King, which turns it into Heavy Metal King. Not a real card. And it's now stronger than Curse of Dragon. Yami plays Soldier of Stone in defense and passes. Johnny attacks the giant Soldier of Stone with Heavy Metal King and destroys it. Yami plays Dark Magician and attacks Heavy Metal King. Johnny taunts Yami with Metalmorph's effect, but Yami knows Metalmorph gives its biggest power boost when the equipped monster attacks, not when it is attacked. Johnny is upset and asks Yami who he is, and upon learning his opponent is the king of games, he quits the match.
I mean, it's fair.
Yeah. There's a brief exchange between Taya and Johnny about how easily he gives up and him also having wanted to be a dancer at one point. But it doesn't matter because it's fucking Step Johnny, so who gives a shit?
Okay, so this is my biggest complaint about this episode, is like, they stopped the story to do this little duel so he can learn a lesson. And like, sure, it is like a I have no friends, so I'm like a bitter asshole lesson. And Taya's like, you have any friends? Like maybe one. It's like, you should get some friends and maybe like clean up your act. And then we don't see him ever again. So who the fuck cares? Was it just to have a duel? Was it just so they needed to have some sort of action going? Because, oh my fucking god, it was just so unnecessary.
Yeah, this sucks. Everything about Johnny Step sucks.
It's not good. I'm glad we're over it now.
Yeah. Afterwards, Yami has decided that he does want to go to the Egypt exhibit at the museum, and the episode ends with him and Taya entering it. Episode 54, covering chapters 91, but also 89, opens up with Yami and Taya already in the basement of the museum, where there are the two tablets, and they're looking at the one depicting the priest and the pharaoh battling. Yami and Taya see Yami on the tablet, and this is the fastest backstory reveal ever, because we're like a minute past the intro to this episode, and already he's like, I was the ancient pharaoh.
So we learn all this stuff that we've been wondering for like a season, and now it's
This does also mean that going forward in my notes, I can now write the pharaoh instead of Yami.
So do you want to just this season call him the pharaoh?
Yeah, that's what we know him as now. We have something to refer to him as other than like the other self. Because even like Yami is like a fan thing.
No, they do call him Yami in the dub.
Oh.
The Shizu blatantly calls him Yami in the dub.
Oh, that's weird-er.
Well, they did say he is called by many names, and Yami was one of them at the end of Duelist Kingdom. So it's not that far-fetched for Shizu to know that, if Yami already knows that. But we can call him the Pharaoh from season 2 on now. We're deciding show things on air. Enjoy this little behind the scenes stuff, listener.
Yeah, we'll call him whatever interchangeably based on how annoying it is to type 1, or just refer to it offhandedly.
Yeah.
Ishizu then enters the scene, and Yami clocks that she has a Millennium Necklace. Ishizu explains that it is Yami's destiny to battle, and that a new person with a Millennium item will oppose him soon, but it's not her. Ishizu then tells Yami his destiny is waiting for him at the city plaza and leaves. Insert tuxedo mask meme, my work here is done, but you didn't do anything. Yami thinks on the tablet some more, and that Kaiba resembles the priest on it. We then cut to Kaiba Corp, where Kaiba is in his iconic white coat fit and is dueling against a robot to test out the new next-gen duel disc, which is the one with the iconic design you're thinking of. You don't have to throw these ones.
It's so fucking cool.
Kaiba's thinking about Yugi and says, fuck the past, I only care about fighting you in the now. The man is so normal.
He's nothing if not consistent.
The dual robot that he's playing against is using a copy of Kaiba's strongest deck, and Kaiba's using this also as a way to test out Obelisk. The duel begins, and Kaiba launches solid vision projectors from the dual disc, which will then display the monsters. So they have these little like wrist launch things on the underside of it, which doesn't really get shown super often.
It does get shown more in Battle City than anything else. They kind of
forget to just make that.
They do, or they just find ways around it. Like there are like places that you do noticeably see projectors or whatever, the hologram projectors, but in different ways. So it, I guess, depends on the setting.
Yeah. Or if they felt like paying the animators to make a new thing of them launching the things.
Yeah, or just having them reanimate the same thing.
Yeah. The duel begins, and both duelists now start with 4,000 life points. The robot goes first and sets one monster and passes. Kaiba sets one card and plays Battle Ox and attacks. And the set monster is revealed to be Cyberjar, so we get to see that guy again. Cyberjar then wipes out the field, and both duelists draw and summon a bunch of monsters. The robot sets 2 monsters, and Kaiba summons 4. We're not going to dwell on what they are because it doesn't really matter. The robot then tribute summons its 2 monsters to summon the Blue Eyes, and Kaiba explains that under the new rules, high-level monsters require tributes to summon. The robot passes its turn, and Kaiba then tributes Hitatsumi Giant in order to play Dragon Seeker and passes. Dragon Seeker has an effect that when it changes modes, it can destroy a dragon monster, so Kaiba's planning to do that later. The robot then sets one card and plays Lord of D, which protects dragon monsters from being targeted, so Kaiba's Dragon Seeker will not be able to help anymore. However, the robot is not attacking still because Kaiba does have one set card, and so he does praise his own robot for playing carefully and not walking into a trap. The duel bot's turn again, and it plays the Flute of Summoning Dragon, which with Lord of D on the field allows it to special summon 2 more blue eyes from the hand. And then it plays Polymerization, so once again, get the monsters on the field, then polymerize, which is unnecessary, but it has made Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. But, under the new rules, fusion monsters cannot attack the turn they are summoned. Which, they weren't under the new rules in the Johnny Steps duel, which I guess is why Musician King was able to attack.
But they were in Duelist Kingdom. You weren't able to attack with fusion monsters on the first turn either. I remember that.
I guess they really didn't care about the Johnny Steps duel that much.
Man, you know what? Neither did I. So who fucking cares?
Hey, you're already prepared to direct the new season. Kaiba's turn, and he is super normal about seeing the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. In the tech booth looking out on the duel, Mokuba learns that Kaiba has set his own duel disc so he can feel the physical damage from attacks, and dear God, this man needs help.
He's very normal.
Kaiba thinks on how Yugi must have felt facing down the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and refuses to waver in the face of its power. Just like how Yugi did not. Kaiba then draws Obelisk and summons it by attributing 3 of his monsters. Kaiba then uses Obelisk's effect to tribute his 2 other monsters to boost its power. Kaiba asks Blue Eyes to forgive him and attacks with Obelisk, which punches the Ultimate Dragon, destroying it, wipes out Duelbot's life points, and the machine then, explodes.
Well, it took the damage, so, it's gotta explode now.
Yeah, Kaiba once again starts laughing maniacally. Super normal.
Yeah, it's very normal with him.
Speaking of people being super normal, here I come. We then see Yami and Taya out on the streets at night.
I forgot.
And Yami tells Taya that little Yugi doesn't know that Yami saw the tablet and asks Taya to keep it a secret. When this happens, we do see a little bit of the Force Ghost appearance of little Yugi, so I don't know if he actually does know or not, or if Yami doesn't know he knows.
I can't remember.
Oh, we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Yami reflects on how he and Yugi make their deck together, and that when Yugi truly understands Yami, the deck will unleash its true power. About this time, Yami looks around the plaza and realizes there are a bunch of uniquely designed characters hanging around it, and God bless us everyone, my Valentine runs up to Yami and Taya. She's got a new fit too.
Like some fanfare.
Yami asks why Maya's here, and Maya explains that a message was put out on the internet calling for duelists to gather in the city. Maya and Yami can both feel the duelist auras around the plaza, and Taya just looks around confused. We see Rex, we see Weevil, we see Mako, and some new guy called Esper Roba, which is just Esper Roba in the dub.
I wonder who will duel him.
It's a mystery to all of us, except all of us that know. On a big screen TV then, like Times Square style, Kaiba's face appears, and his visage begins to slowly overtake all the other screens around the area, and Kaiba announces that a tournament will be held, sponsored by Kaiba Corp, in 1 week.
I would like to point out that Kaiba does only give the duelists 2 days to prepare for the tournament in the manga. But he's also a little more normal as he shows up in person instead of hacking every computer and TV screen to make this announcement.
I wonder if we should keep a tally board of the normal things Kaiba does in the different mediums and see which Kaiba's the most normal.
I will say, I like the hacking of the screens in the helicopter entrance better. That suits his character a little more than him just suddenly appearing and going, Battle City, 2 days from now. Bye.
Yeah. So, tournaments in 1 week. The duelists must have a 40-card deck, including rare cards. No popper stuff. Duelists also need a dual disc, sponsored by Kaiba Corp. The tournament will use Battle City rules, which is a word no one has heard before today, except for Kaiba, and the ante rules. So the loser has to give up their rarest card to the winner. That's ante as in A-N-T-E, not A-N-T-I. Not being dramatic enough, Kaiba then shows up above the plaza, hanging out the doors of a helicopter, and announces that the tournament will take place in Domino City, which will turn it into Battle City.
Woo!
We end the episode seeing a bunch of figures wearing cloaks like Keith was wearing when he was being Mind Freak, and one figure holding a rod with the Millennium symbol on it who is named Merrick, who orders the rare hunter ghouls to convene on Battle City.
That was Mind Freak. That's Mind Freak. Merrick's Mind Freak.
Yeah.
If you guys didn't get it.
I think some translations might call him Malik, but we're just going to call him Merrick because that's the one I see around.
It's Merrick in the manga, I'm pretty sure, so we're gonna say Merrick.
Yeah.
But we did it. There it is. There is 5, kind of 6 episodes worth of content for you guys in episode 1 of season 2.
We actually didn't go as long as I thought we were going to. I was expecting this to like get closer to like the 2-hour mark.
No, I thought it was gonna be like a half hour, like, you know, whatever length this is. This is pretty appropriate for what we did, and it also kind of makes sense because this is how we started episode 1 with the season 1. So there you go. Get a little extra content at the beginning of every season.
And to truly bless you all, we did in fact have my Valentine show up. That's right.
Woo!
I cannot be trusted to go any amount of time without mentioning the best character in this show. I am so normal about her.
Who's more normal, Kaiba with Blue Eyes White Dragon, or you with my Valentine? That's the real question.
Not even kidding. It's me. By far, I am the more normal of the two.
We'll see about that one as the series goes on.
I don't have a jet in the shape of a woman, Andy. That's a corner of the internet I don't want to be a part of.
You don't have the funds to take care of that Kaiba does. I think you'd be doing something with my... Well, I'm not saying you'd be creepy with it. I'm not going to insinuate that, but...
If I had the funds to make jets out of anything, I probably would also make it look like a dragon.
I guess that's fair. You would do that. You'd also get a metal arm.
Yeah, I do want the robot arms. It would be a robot arm with the dual disc built into it, which a character might have in some Yu-Gi-Oh series I don't remember.
I don't know. We'll get there someday. Maybe. Hopefully.
Oh, absolutely. Whoa, we're halfway there, living on a prayer.
But that is the absolute early beginnings of the Battle City arc, which we are now going to get into. And going on, first of all, thank you all for listening and getting us to season 2. We're very excited to get into the Battle City arc proper now. In the next episode, we are going to look into Rare Hunter fighting Joey, then Yugi fighting the same Rare Hunter in the first Battle City duel of the series, and then Esperogua comes in fighting Joey, which will be very exciting.
Yeah, we've gone a while without seeing Joey duel, so it'll be fun to see all the new fun cards that he uses in Battle City, because I actually do really like all the goofy stuff Joey does.
His deck actually takes a big step up for me in this series, and I'm actually really excited with my new kind of found interest in Joey as a character that I've gained through this rewatch. So I'm excited to see those cards being played and that growth in Joey that he gets in this arc.
Yeah, Battle City is awesome. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! It's what you think of when you think Yu-Gi-Oh! It's Yu-Gi-Oh!
It is probably the best arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! If I had to say. But I do like Millennium World too, which is, I guess, the next manga arc. But that's going to be something we don't talk about for a while. Do you have anything to add on any of the episodes we covered, or anything you kind of want to say, something like any final thoughts?
I'd remembered from when I was younger that Ishizu spent more time with the Pharaoh and Taya in the museum talking about his past, but I guess I was wrong. It does seem really weird that she brain blasted Kaiba over and over, funny as it was, with visions of the past, but then just glossed over it with the actual Pharaoh, considering everything about her backstory that we haven't been shown yet.
Yeah, these are some of the weird creative decisions that the showrunners did that I'm not necessarily a fan of. She doesn't really go too in-depth in the manga either. It's somewhat the same, maybe a little bit more exposition heavy, but there is also no brain blast flashbacks in the manga for Kaiba, just a lot more exposition of the same stuff, which I think goes into more a believable sense of why Kaiba doesn't believe in ancient Egyptian dark shadow realm magic, where I think it's a little bit more frustrating to see that he is actively experiencing ancient Egyptian dark shadow realm magic with these kinds of brain blasts and shit, and then still going on like episodes later going, I don't believe in your phony baloney hokey ancient Egyptian shit.
Yeah, your
Fuck
mystic
you,
mumbo jumbo.
All that life matters is about blue eyes and nothing more. Come. If you could see the face Phoenix is giving me right now after I said that, it's still going.
No one's allowed to say anything about me being weird about Mai after that.
Well, yeah, you did just say Kaiba's less normal about it, so
Hundo P. Stand by it. But
but
we will get into the true Battle City will begin next episode.
yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. I think I kind of added everything I needed to add. It was interesting to see that some chapters went out of order for the first time, actually, with the whole like 91 and 89. But it worked in this episode, so it's fine. Doesn't really matter. I don't have any other complaints about it. I'm just really I'm kind of impressed Kaiba was able to organize an entire battle tournament or like a dueling tournament in a very short amount of time, where he could easily distribute, duel discs and let the city let him do this, and also get all the duelists here on short notice. So, good for him.
I'm willing to bet that I don't think we've gone into it, but I think that because of the size of Kaiba Corp, I wouldn't doubt they're one of like those companies that like owns the town. So like they own Domino City.
I could believe it. They're like, it doesn't seem unfeasible with the fact that he's a very wealthy corporate individual, but just wanted to give his fake props for that, for being able to do that, because as someone who's organized events and stuff before, it is very stressful. So good on him. I know he's got the people to also threaten to fire to get it all done.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, I think we've gone on long enough for this episode. Let's do our little sign off. Would you want to, do your little social media plug spiel?
Sure. Twitch.tv/PhoenixForest and YouTube.com/PhoenixForest. There you can find me uploading videos of me doing casual gameplay of video games, mostly card games. The one I do the most of is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, where you can find me guaranteed at least once a week going through and commentating on matches that I watch. If you've been out of the game for a while and you want to know how it's played, you can watch those to get the insights of someone who is far too invested in this game. Dear God.
You do love that game.
I do. And people will take me seriously, goddammit.
Yeah, please check that out. And I'm also on Instagram. It's apappasergi, PAPPASERGI. I have some music project stuff actually coming out in the future, and I'm joined a couple projects that I'll have more information on as I go on. And you can find all of the Kuribros social media stuff in the link tree that we have linked in the bios below of any of our social medias. We have Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, kind of, and things of that nature. So see you all on those social media sites. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. But we are actually going to say goodbye now as we are signing off. My name's Andy.
I'm Phoenix.
Season 2, giddy up and goodbye.
I don't think you're allowed to fly a helicopter that close to buildings.
No, you're not.